All right. Hello, Nikia. Glad to have you here today.
Hey Scott, I'm glad to be here today. Thank you so much for inviting me on your show.
Well, I definitely had to come to you, being a lifelong friend, being like best of friends in high school and so forth. You were definitely someone I had to talk to. So I'm glad I'm able to connect with you.
Great, great, great.
So the first thing I wanted to
Awesome.
ask you is specifically about your industry, what you're doing now. Can you tell me a little bit about what you do now?
Sure. Well, I have one of those titles that doesn't really describe what I do, so I'm going to unpack it a little bit.
All right.
I'm the World Heritage Coordinator at Global Philadelphia Association. So our association um, pretty much promotes international events, affairs, activities that's happening within Philadelphia and the surrounding region. A couple of years ago, our association secured full membership within the organization of World Heritage Cities. So now Philadelphia is a World Heritage City. When you hear World Heritage City, you know that a place has universal value and some kind of historical significance. So after we secured that designation, we unveiled a citywide strategic plan that cuts across 7 sectors. So education is one, neighborhood and community development, business and nonprofit organizations, historical preservation, things of that nature are all part of the strategic plan. And I am responsible for coordinating all of the activities that takes place within that strategic plan and the individual initiatives.
Wow, that sounds like a lot there. How'd you get involved with that?
Yeah. Well, I spent about 5.5 years overseas. I taught English in South Korea 2 years. Fell in love with it. Korea is my second, if not first home. And then I came back to the States. I realized that I wasn't ready to come back to the States and that my heart and my journey wasn't finished with South Korea. So I applied for a scholarship to study over there, received it, went back 2010, completed a master's degree in sociology, and came back. And when I came back, when you come back to live overseas, you're just not the same. You're not. You're experiencing reverse culture shock, and you just want to be around like-minded folks, and you want to be in a culture that was very similar to that of the culture that you were within. So I definitely wanted to get into the international field upon returning to Philadelphia. And I looked, and there aren't unfortunately many opportunities to be involved with international organizations within Philadelphia. You'll find it in New York, you'll find it in DC, but Philadelphia is quite limited. So I ended up getting a job at the Police Touch Museum initially, staying there for about 15 months. And then after we received the World Heritage City designation, I saw an advertisement that they were looking for a coordinator. I applied, and I was granted the position February of last year.
Wow, excellent, excellent. And it's always been really great to see. I talk about you all the time as someone that I grew up with in Philadelphia in the city, and then going off to Korea and going off to truly experience life. And
Mm-hmm.
now you're fluent in Korean, and you come back and you're a show all this growth in your life, and it's always great to see. So it's so inspiring. So I always want to ask, like, how you got to these places. how you made these decisions. Um, but a little piece I wanted to get to also is when you're working this hard and so forth, what do you do outside of work?
Okay. All right. So one, thank you so much because it's not easy. It hasn't been easy getting to where I am today with a lot of challenges, many rewards, and it takes pretty much all of yourself, and for you to see that and applaud that, I'm really grateful. So thank you.
Oh, definitely.
And the decision to go to Korea was actually, I always say that Korea chose me. Upon graduating from college, it was 2007. The market was horrible. And I just wasn't personally in a good place. I wasn't even able to celebrate the fact that I had graduated with a bachelor's degree. And I just knew it was just this unfulfillment, in my spirit. And I was just kind of seeking that out, like, why am I so unfulfilled? And I kind of, even earlier in the semester before I graduated, I kind of had the feeling like, you need to get away. You need to get away. You need to leave America. And it was like an overwhelming feeling. But I didn't have the money at the time. I didn't have, I didn't know where to go. Just no clear direction. So I remember being home in the summer, looking for work, not really finding anything, and a friend sent me an advertisement.
Yeah.
And it simply said, teach English in South Korea, with a long list of, all of the benefits, travel, teaching experience, dynamic culture. And I was like, why not? So that's really how I ended up in Korea. I asked myself the question, why not? Like, what do I have to lose? And then I had a phone interview, which was that same week. And the phone interview probably didn't even last an hour. And he was like, you sound like someone that we want. Here are the next steps. I went to New York, got my visa, and literally 2-3 weeks later, I was on a plane to South Korea.
Wow.
Didn't know the language, didn't have any friends there. I just went. I did pray. I prayed. I said, I'm all about just being in the will of God. I believe that everyone's created with a destiny. That there's a story that you're supposed to be living out. And I feel as though like when you're on par, like in alignment with God, like things just work out. So I was like, God, this is for me, right? This is the road I'm supposed to travel. Just I just pray for open doors, no barriers. And it is like from the like even getting money for the plane ticket and being blessed with like really great community when I landed. I just felt a peace. I was like, okay, I just felt a confidence that this was God's will for my life, and that was all that mattered, So I was initially planning on staying a year, but as I said, I fell in love with the culture, and I was like, there's no way I can leave. There's no way I can leave after a year.
So what was that like? Yeah, what was that like? You're getting there. You're getting off the plane, a long flight, and you're getting off the plane. What was those first experiences like? Those first moments like?
That first moment, there was curiosity, there was excitement, there was a little nervousness. But I remember going down the escalator, getting all my luggage, and walking out to the crowd of people that greet you. And there was a man, and he had a sign with my name on it. So at that moment, I felt really special. I was like, what? Never had that experience before.
Yeah.
And so I got in the van, and I remember driving from the airport to my apartment that they had prepared for me. And I just remember looking around, and that's when I felt that peace.
Yeah.
I was kind of like waiting for everything to settle in. Like, what is this? And did I get myself into something, a little crazy? And no, it was just like an overwhelming peace that everything was going to be all right. So those first experiences, and I remember like waking up the next few days and just going to the grocery store, and everything is in Korean. Korean. I can't speak the language. So I'm literally taking my time, going up and down every aisle, using body language to speak with the workers there, and just like looking at pictures. And I remember enjoying it. It wasn't frustrating. I wasn't annoyed.
Yeah.
It was like this adventure that I was on.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that was very exciting.
Wow.
Yeah, those first few moments, and honestly, I'm not saying I didn't have a bad. Everyone has a bad day, but like my friends and I that lived over there, we said like even on a bad day in Korea, like you can't even be mad because you wake up, you're like, I'm excited. You know, like how many people get this opportunity so those bad moments don't last very long.
Yeah. So how was it in terms of making friends and meeting people that were American or similar to you, or just making Korean friends as well, or others who were there from other countries?
Well, I love people and I love people of different ethnic backgrounds and cultures. I grew up with Caribbean parents. I went to I graduated from Upper Darby High School, which is very diverse. I think it represents over 55 nationalities, you know? So I think even like that transition, going from a predominantly all black school to go into a very mixed culture in high school, I think that prepared me a lot for college and for Korea. Because it just showed me how much I really appreciate diversity. And so when I was there, I was very open. And, there are foreigners that go to Korea and they have very negative experiences. And not to say that, those aren't valid, because those experiences are real. Xenophobia is real. Koreans are still getting used to the idea of foreigners being in their country, So, even though they're a negative experience, I was very open towards Koreans, and I was very open towards the culture and learning the language, and really befriending the people. And I think they saw that, and they responded to that kind of openness very positively. And also the Korean, the international friends I made there. It's really hard to put into words, but the way that the friendships evolve when you're overseas, it's so organic. You can know someone literally for 2 weeks, spend 2 weeks in the same dorm with someone, and you feel like family.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just like an acceleration that happens because you're both foreigners in this country. And the connection is just a bit more immediate.
Yeah.
So I have friends that I met over there in 2007, and to this day, some of them are back. Some of them are back in Florida. Some of them are back in Cali, New York, and we meet up. We try to meet up on a regular basis. We keep in touch with each other because we are family.
The connection is there.
A few weeks without talking to each other. Whenever we pick up the phone and whenever we see each other again, it's like we saw each other yesterday.
Yeah. Wow.
It's that kind of friendship.
Well, how was it in terms of learning the language? I know that language barrier can be very difficult, as you stated. So how was it, absorbing the information and the language specifically?
I think when you are passionate about something, even if it's very challenging, you're able to endure it. You're able to persevere. So I had a love for Korean people. I had a love for Korean culture. So that really gave me the enthusiasm and the motivation I needed to focus. I mean, the first time I went, I just learned survival Korean, like the basics. I knew how to tell a taxi driver to take me to my home. I knew how to order a drink, But it wasn't until I went back and I studied the language formally at a language school that I really devoted my time and attention to it. And I would be in a classroom literally from 9 a.m. in the morning till 6 p.m. that night, 5 days a week. And I did that for about a year and a half. And it's So a lot of time, and it's very taxing on the body. But my teachers were amazing. You
Yeah.
know, they would stay after doing self study to help us. They were just so committed. And when you have teachers that really care about you and really care about your success, that really makes your learning experience more enjoyable
Yeah.
and more fulfilling.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
let's take a step back, and I want to talk about a little bit about your upbringing. What was it like for you growing up, and the location, and with the family, and so forth?
My upbringing was pretty cool. Like I said, my parents are from the Caribbean. My mom is Jamaican, my dad's Trinidadian, and they separated when I was about 9 years old. But I still kind of felt like I had the best of both worlds because, living with my mom, I learned a lot about Jamaican culture, traveled to Jamaica very frequently during summer vacation. And then on the weekends, I would go and see my dad and, eat Trinidadian food and experience, Trinidadian culture. And, my mom and dad are also very different personalities. Like, my dad's a bit more laid back, carefree. My mom is like very, what I'd say, like serious and very punctual and very disciplined. So I felt as though growing up, I really had the opportunity to experience the best of both worlds.
Yeah. All right. So how did that help you in school? As you're moving through middle school to high school and so forth.
I think the fact, well, like I said, my mom was very disciplined and had high expectations for me. And I think that instilled in me a very disciplined attitude towards school, and also gave me the drive towards academic excellence. So transition in the middle of high school wasn't difficult at all. I applied myself wherever I went, and I never compared myself to other people, and I still that's like my standard for myself. Nikia, your standard is it's the expectations that you hold for yourself,
Mm-hmm.
not what other people are doing, not how they are, achieving or excelling. It's really about the expectations that you have for yourself. And
Yeah.
so having those high expectations for myself, and having a family that also held me to high expectations, I think allowed me to really do well in school.
Excellent. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
and
yeah,
excel in different environments.
yeah. So I say it's for the different environment. So you graduate from Upper Darby High School. What was next for
Mm.
you? How was that decision for you as you're graduating and you're finishing high school? What was that like for you to make that leap beyond high school?
Mm. I was excited. I think I always knew it was because I wanted to grow up really fast. Like, as a child, I always envisioned my life as an adult.
Yeah.
So when I graduated, it was kind of like, finally, this is what I want.
Yeah.
And then I went away to college, and I was independent, and I was meeting people from all parts of the world, and just really able to carve out for myself a community. It was exciting. It was one of the most memorable experiences of my life. I say to my friends all the time that I would do college all over again. Some people wouldn't, but I would. I met some incredible people, some professors that really poured into me and gave me good advice. People that prayed for me. Those are times that you'll never forget, and
Yeah.
people that you'll always remember.
So who were some of the people that you leaned on or you went to for guidance?
Well, my mother is a woman that prays all the time. So whenever I found myself in a tough spot, I could always turn to her and ask for prayer. And she would always just encourage me and tell me to have faith and tell me to trust God. So that was very helpful. Still is very helpful to this day. And I had a community of friends. I had a young lady that pretty much took me in as her child when I was in college. We worked in the same office space, and I don't even know when it happened, how it happened, but we kind of gravitated to each other.
Yeah.
And she would invite me over her house, and then, I would have like cooked meals and spend time with her children. And I think that really made college for me, not it made it pretty, I don't want to say easy, but it wasn't a difficult adjustment because she really cared for me, and I really cared for her family, and I had a place with her family. So friends and Alicia, that's the lady that took me in, and my mom. I think those are the people that I turned to in those times.
Excellent, excellent. It seemed like you always had a family, no matter where you went. Um, you always have people around you to really to lean on and so forth. Is that just part of your
Mm-hmm.
personality? Do you feel like, or do you just feel like things kind of worked out for you in that way?
Um, I think it's the fulfillment of prayer. It's so funny because I always sit, whenever I think about the places I've been and the people I've met, I am just truly grateful. Truly, true. I don't take it for granted. And I don't think it's just a coincidence. I think, God knows me, He knows what I need. And I thrive on community. I need
Yeah,
to be around a place where I feel safe, around people that I can be vulnerable with, people I can serve with,
yeah,
people that can speak into my life and I can speak into their lives, people that can really hold you up in difficult times. And so that's, I think, really that is a fulfillment of prayer.
yeah.
That's one of my concepts. Like, no matter how difficult things are, God, but please just allow there to be, even if it's one person, just this place of community that I can turn to in times of difficulty.
Yeah. Like I said,
Mm-hmm.
I've always known you to be ambitious, intelligent, of course, but always ambitious. So I want to talk a little bit about your future. I know you have some great things in store for yourself that I really have to touch base on. Can you just speak a little bit about what your plans are for the next couple of years in your life, and where you want to go?
Um, so I am currently pursuing opportunities within the Foreign Service. I've applied to several programs, international international affairs programs at 6 different schools. I've heard positive responses back from three, waiting on three more. And I'm also awaiting a fellowship that, if I'm awarded it, I would pretty much receive the professional development necessary to become a Foreign Service officer with the U.S. Department of State. So I'm really excited about that. Looking forward to hearing back from the fellowship, and prayerfully becoming an ambassador for my country, 2 years from now.
Wow. How does that feel? How does that feel to have, you know, kind of like not only a direction, but to really be encouraged to keep moving forward? Is this something that's always been with you as a young woman, as a child, as a kid? Have you always seen that, I want to have this direction, and I want to be, to be encouraged at all points in my life? Has that always been with you?
Yeah, yeah, yes. It has. Always kind of, knew what I wanted for my life. And I just knew that it required sweat, blood, and tears. And I wasn't going to gripe about it, and I wasn't going to complain about it. I was just going to do what it takes to get to where I need to go. Because ultimately, that longing in my heart, and that call, I feel like it's going to, if I don't, someone said it perfectly. When I die, I want to die empty. Right? Everything inside of me that I've been gifted with, I want to be able to pour it out before I leave this earth.
Yeah,
And I think that's really been a driving motivator. Just wanting to be used wanting to live a life that's in service of people, but at the same time fulfilling to me.
Oh, excellent. So, how do you balance your career and your ambitions with your life outside of your career? When you're enjoying life, how do you balance those two?
Are you speaking of work-life balance?
Yeah, definitely. You're working hard here, but at the same
Mm-hmm.
time, you got to get out. You have to build this family. You have
Oh,
to continue to nourish those.
right, right. Yeah, you know me, Scott. I do love to have fun. I love to laugh. I love to just kick it with friends, watch movies, tell
Karaoke. Yeah.
stories. I'm very community oriented, as I said, and I love to take trips. Like whenever I'm like even getting on an airplane, there's like this little childlike um, joy that bubbles up within me. I thrive off of adventure, right? So, as of now, I have a couple of trips planned. In a couple of weeks, I'm going to Boston for
Yeah.
an open house at Tufts University. And then a little later, I'll be going to New York in May to visit a friend that's flying in from South Korea. The
Wow.
end of June, I hope to make it out to LA. And then in July, I'm going to Greece. So, as you can see, I like to travel.
Yes, yes, making the most out of life. So,
Yes,
with that
yeah.
being said, I want to dig in something. Do you feel you have time for even personal relationships, significant others, and so forth? You know I'm going.
um, I do think I have time, but so I haven't had many dating relationships, and I don't regret that. I feel as though it's probably because I've been so focused on my career for most of my life. Um, but I'm open, and I am interested in dating someone seriously.
Oh
But
yeah.
I'm not about games, and I'm not about dating because I'm bored or I want to fill space. Like, that's not it for me. That doesn't work for me. So if there was a gentleman that was interested in me, and was serious about building life together, then I would definitely consider it. But as of now, there are no prospects.
Is moving forward in your life. I see you have so much you're doing, and so much you're going after.
Yeah.
I can definitely see your life growing and growing and growing. Um,
Wow.
let's talk about is this when you're looking back and you're reflecting on life? Did you picture your 30s being like this? Did you picture yourself in this situation?
No. Oh my gosh. I originally thought, I was going to be a criminal attorney, probably living this amazing life in New York City. The life didn't turn out that way. And actually, the first few years of my 30s have been difficult. Life hasn't been turning out exactly the way I had expected, and that actually has been painful. Disappointment is painful. Disappointment is jarring. It makes you doubt yourself. It makes you question your self confidence. But there's so much fruit from that. My God, like there's so much fruit from just being like, life doesn't turn out the way you expect it to all the time. But you can't stop trying. You
Yeah.
cannot stop trying. You gotta keep going. You gotta keep growing. Stay true to your vision. Stay true to your goals, and move forward. So even though my 30 doesn't look like the way I expected it to, I'm grateful that I've been going through this pruning process because it's causing me to mature and see life differently.
Excellent. If you could offer some tips to a young person or someone who's maybe in high school, or just entering high school about life, what kind of tips would you offer them?
High school. High school is an interesting time. At that age, you're really you're coming into yourself, but at the same time, you are assessing yourself by what you see your peers doing, and you really crave the affirmation of your peers. So it's this tension of like, hey, I want to be true to who I am. I want to be my authentic self. At the same time, I want approval from the friends around me. And I would just encourage every high schooler to resist that tension, to not seek the approval of friends, and not even the affirmation of friends. You're going to do great things, and if you have good friends in your life, they will definitely affirm you.
Yeah.
But if you seek that, I feel as though you're always going to be living your life to please others or for the attention of others. And that can be very, very unfulfilling and very, very painful when what you crave is not what is given to you. So resist the tension and really find out what your interests are, write them down, and even diversify it. Like if you find that you're interested in the same things that all your friends are interested in, try to do things a little outside the box and see how you respond to it, because you never know. That could be the thing that's just for you. And have big dreams. And also silence negative voices. I've heard negative voices, and even from teachers in high school and college, or people that would just say, no, you can't do that, or there's nothing brag-worthy about you. No, silence those voices and surround yourself around people that can see the strengths in you and even see the weaknesses in you or areas of improvement in you, but they will never let you feel as though you're not good enough. They'll point you to success. They'll point you to growth.
Yeah.
They'll never belittle you. They'll never make you feel like you're lesser because there are areas in your life that you need to improve. So just go out and be awesome.
I love that. I love that. So I do want to ask, so where do you see yourself in 10 years? Where do you see yourself?
I see myself living overseas. I think I really do enjoy expat life. Or even if I am in the States, I don't see myself living here permanently. Maybe it's a thing where I'm traveling. I'm here for 6 months and I'm somewhere else because I don't know. So I don't necessarily see myself settled in the States. I see myself married and actually walking out the mission that I have in partnership with my husband. I feel as though the guy that I marry is going to have similar interests and, have a heart of service and want to help people.
Yeah.
So I see living life really in partnership with him. Maybe having a couple of kids or adopting a couple of kids. I'm open to doing that as well. I see myself happy. I see myself happy and content. Not that everything is going right. Not that I don't have bad days, but that there's this contentment, in what I've achieved and where I am in life.
Yeah. I like that. My wise friend. What about in retirement? When you've completed your career. You've done the things you need to do, and you're at the point in your life where you can kind of settle back a little bit. Where do you see yourself in retirement?
Probably the house mom or house grandmom of an orphanage overseas.
Oh. Okay.
And not even an orphanage, I shouldn't say that. It's actually an establishment where there's a school, there are centers, it's like a lot of life around. I feel like when you hear orphanage, you think of just like a bunch of kids living in this little space. Now, I want to create social and economic structures for young children in very hard-pressed areas. So I can see myself just retiring there,
And still having a cause. Yes. And the last question I wanted to really
How,
ask you, um, how do you want to be remembered?
how, how do I want to be remembered? Oh, as someone who loved. I feel as though, and I'll be very vulnerable right now. Sometimes I'm scared to love because I do have a soft heart, and so sometimes I feel like I have to guard it because if I don't guard it, I'm going to be in excruciating pain, and that doesn't feel good. So there are times where I'll walk into situations and my guard is up because I know that if I let my guard down, I walk up the situation, it's going to be painful. But I want to learn how to love in spite of fear, love in spite of rejection, love in spite of disappointment and hurt. I want to love well. So that's something I've been praying for.
Oh, wow. Well, thank you. Thank you, Nikia Brown. It was a pleasure speaking with you today. This concludes another episode of Unmuted. I'm your host, Scott Mays. Thank you for joining us.